all be out. Tigers get ready for Clemson. We'll talk about that in the second. There are no reinforcements, apparently. We don't know about Jordan Brown. I suspect he will not play, and Naquan Tomlin has not yet done all the paperwork, so he will not, I don't think, be available. We'll find out. And Week 15 in the NFL began last night in a historic way. This is why we love the NFL, because you never know. When it began, Pete Rozelle, the commissioner, said, what I want in this league is that on any given Sunday, any given team can beat the other. So here I present to you the Las Vegas Raiders. The Las Vegas Raiders, 4 days prior to last night, scored nothing. They lost 3-0 in a football game. Nothing. 4 days later, 63 points, a franchise record. They beat the Chargers last night 63-21. It was actually 63-7 midway through the fourth quarter. The Chargers scored 2 meaningless touchdowns late in the game. It's the most points ever given up by a Chargers team and the most points ever scored by that storied franchise, which, of course, began in Oakland, went to Los Angeles, went back to Oakland, and now is in Las Vegas. They scored 42 points in the first half. Their quarterback, Aiden O'Connell, 20 of 34, 48 yards, 4 touchdowns. All of that took place in the first half. Zach Boyd, did you see that coming?
No, did not.
How does that happen? Seriously. That is nuts. That is absolutely crazy. Where you can't score a point, you get shut out in this day and age, and then you score 63 the next time out. I mean, that borders on bizarre.
You could say the same about the Chargers offense. How do you not score a touchdown when you're down 49-0?
I don't know. It is bizarre. It is the NFL, but that's how Week 15 begins. We're going to make some picks, but it's going to be bowl games. We're going to pick 8 today. We're going to go through December the 23rd. We'll do that in a little bit. We've got a busy show. It's going to be fun. Jonah Dillon will join us, the commercial appeal beat writer. He does mainly Tiger football, but he also does some Grizz, and I think he's covered the jaw trial, which, by the way, testimony ended yesterday. And it now goes to Carol Chumney, who's got I think, a pretty good amount of time before she renders her verdict on a couple of fronts. And we'll talk with Jonah Dillon about that. That'll take place at 10:25. We'll end our week with Brian Dacus. We'll talk about the Tigers and Clemson. Let me tell you, this team, they're good. They're one of 7 undefeated still left. They're 9-0. You may say, who did they play? I'll tell you who they've played. They've beaten Boise. That's not a bad basketball team. They won at Alabama. We know how good that team can be, 85-77. So they scored 85 points on an Alabama team. They won at Pitt. They beat South Carolina. Last time out, they beat TCU. They were picked 5th in the ACC. That's their highest preseason ranking since 2008. Their coach, Brad Brownell, who's been there since 2010, has really produced pretty well, I think. This is his 14th year. So they start, you want to talk about experience, 2 grads, 2 seniors, and a junior. Now, one of those grads, I think, started the first few games and got injured. So he may be out. They may slip a sophomore in. But they've played together for the most part. And they are going to be a tough test. I would be surprised if they were not the pregame favorites in the Vegas line. I've looked. There's no line out yet. I don't think it'll be big, but I would suspect Clemson will be a 2 to 3 point favorite in FedEx Forum. This, by the way, oddly enough, is the first time Penny will be coaching at home. And what's even crazier is, he got suspended those first few games, so they played Jackson State and Alabama State at home, right? Then they went to the Bahamas, and they've been on this incredible trip. VCU, A&M, a lot of tough places. It's the first time since 1952 that they've had a road trip away from home that long. That team, I think they played 14 road games straight, and they were gone from playing a game in Memphis for 41 days. You'll never see that happen again. I don't know if you'll ever see 30 days again. That was wild how that was all put together, but that's how Penny did it. And the thing, and I think Brunell even talked about this as he's spoken glowingly, as you would expect any pregame opponent would speak of the team they're about to face. But he did say he appreciated Penny, which is part of the reason why he wanted this series, is because Penny will play anybody. And that is evident. Penny calls everybody, wants to play. There's no doubt about it. But he has not coached at home yet this year. That is wild when you consider there are 9 games in. There should be a great crowd. The Plaza already sold out. The club seating. So the Plaza is the lower bowl. Club seating is sort of the middle bowl. And they have a lot more seats up top, which is why I think the Grizzlies honestly want to change this. They want some more expensive seats in there. And they didn't do this the right way the first time. I don't know why they abandoned what their original plans were going to be, but they did. So the Plaza and the club sold out. I want to say that's 8,000 seats. So there's 10,000 up top. And now there are plenty of season tickets lower terrace that I'm sure are filled. I don't know how close they are to a total sellout, but I would be shocked if there aren't 15 or 16,000. I know he wants 18,000. I hope 18,000 show up, and I think there's a chance. But you already know, lower bowl, club seats already sold out. I'm excited. I think that there will be a great crowd and a great atmosphere. That'll be 2 o'clock tomorrow. If the Tigers will win that game, because Clemson is ranked 13th. They're actually 11 in the net. If they win that game and they play Virginia on Tuesday, so the poll comes out before they play Virginia. If they win the Clemson game, there is no way possible that you could keep Memphis out of the top 25, is there? With the wins they would have, back-to-backers against A&M and Clemson, both top 25 teams, how could you not pick them? With wins Michigan, at Missouri, Arkansas, even the VCU win is a road win, and I think that in the end this year that could end up being a quad one win. How could you not put Memphis in the top 25 if you're a voter? Already some voters have A&M, despite the fact that Memphis beat them pretty handily on their court. They were ahead of Memphis and already receiving votes last week.
So, the voters will find a way. I think for the Tigers, because as fans and, as guys, as people working with the university, obviously we want them to get their respect, get their due. But for the players and for the coaching staff, if you just stack wins, all of this will take care of itself. So you go find a way, you go beat Clemson at home, stack these wins. You got back-to-back wins against top 25 ranked opponents. In air quotes, right now Texas A&M, like you said, is out. But 2 ranked opponents back-to-back, yeah, they're gonna have no choice but to get you in.
I hope you're right. We will see. I think you beat Clemson, and it's going to be tough. But if you do, I don't see how you are not in. One last thing, because we'll make some picks, and then we're going to talk with Jonah Dillon, and followed by Brian Takis on this busy show. I found this, and I got to give Chris Harrington from the Daily Memphian credit on this one. You talk about Dylan Brooks and his sometimes offensive inefficiencies, never effort or never defensive prowess, because those are always there. But he made a point about how he's probably shooting less this year and playing the role of the fourth option much better than he did at Memphis. And maybe he's more mature and he understands what his role is going to be and he got his money, so he's happy. I don't know. But Harrington points out he did not really love that fourth role option. And in fact, at the end of the year, remember, he was complaining about not enough plays being drawn up for him. Harrington points this out, and I think it's spot on. If you look, and this is, I think, a flaw with the Grizzlies and their philosophies with load management and, I guess, bad luck with injuries. But so far this year, Dillon Brooks is the fourth option on that team. There are 3 other players ahead of him. So if you take a look at that grouping of 4 players, Dillon Brooks has played 95% of the games played already have been with all 4 on the floor. Have you read this, Zach? Because this will blow your mind. If you go back the last 2 years, what is the percentage, do you think, that Dillon Brooks played with Ja, Desmond, and Jaren Jackson Jr., those 3, because he's the fourth option on that team. How many, what's the percentage of games that they played the last 2 years, all 4 together?
Say about 50%.
23%. Last year, those 4 played only 26 games together. The year before that, they only played 11 games altogether. That's incredible.
Yeah.
And I think the 95%, I forget what the Rockets' record is, but I think they've already played like 20 games together as a group. 95% of the games they play together. He had to take shots because more than half the time, 3/4 of the time, they weren't all playing together. It's crazy. And I think some of that is load management, some of that is bad luck.
And dealing with injuries.
Yeah. I thought that was an incredible stat. I give Harrington a lot of credit for digging that out. This portion of the show brought to you by our title sponsor, that's Homer Skelton Hyundai in Olive Branch. It's also the house where they keep all the Genesis cars. It is a Genesis dealership. It's actually Genesis of Olive Branch. The guy heading that is a Canadian named Vinny Gerard. Loves cars, loves hockey. Loves to talk, especially when he's talking technology like these Genesis cars have. All the latest toys, all the latest bells and whistles, they're all in the brand new Genesis cars, and in particular the SUVs. The GV70 is the smaller one. The GV80 is the bigger one. They have a sales price on them right now, and they have financing if you choose to go with Genesis. Just talk to Vinny. He'll tell you the whole darn picture. And then you're going to go, okay, we got to make this work because you're going to love those cars. Luxury, ride, technology, and a sales price on SUVs at Genesis of Olive Branch. Also, we're sitting in the Family Leisure Studio. The Christmas sale continues there with great deals on pool tables, shuffleboards, even those saunas. If you're tired of shopping much and you want to loosen up, they've got the hot tubs and they got the massage chairs, and those things really do work. They'll take soreness out of your legs right away, and they got a sales price on them. You can surprise the kids with a new arcade game table, maybe a play gym. It's all there with a Christmas bow on it and a special Christmas price. Get to I-40 and Whidden Road where Christmas is coming together. That would be Family Leisure. All right. What I did is I decided we'd pick 8 bowls, Zach. We take it through December the 23rd, and the week after that, we'll take the best 8 to 10 bowls. We're going to do 8 today. All right. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
We'll start with the New Mexico Bowl. This has New Mexico State against Fresno. They're 3.5-point favorites, New Mexico State is. I watched them beat the heck out of Auburn by 3 touchdowns. They played a pretty good game with Liberty. Liberty's a good football team. That's why they're in the New Year's Day 6, but they hung with them. It's in New Mexico, too, by the way. I'm a Jerry Kill fan. I'm willing to give you 3.5 points. I'm taking New Mexico State.
Same here.
Okay. No disagreement yet. I'm sure there will be some. We both stunk last week, but we've been pretty good all year long. Then the L.A. Bowl. UCLA is a 4-point favorite over Boise. So let me get this right. Boise played pretty good at the end of the year, but they fired their coach. Now their quarterback has gotten into the portal. I can't remember where he's going, but he's gone. So I've got to go with UCLA. I know you're going to give away 4 points, but they're trying to prove something, and Boise lost their quarterback. I don't see them beating UCLA. It's only 4. I'm going Bruins.
Give me Boise. It's all about the running game, Dave. Come on now.
Okay.
It's all about the running game with Boise.
All right. Now we go to the Frisco Bowl. That in Dallas, Texas San Antonio is taking on Marshall. 13 points you got to give away. I'm a Frank Harris guy. I believe in that team. I hope that they stay good for conference sake, for the American Athletic Conference. 13's a lot, but I'm gonna go with them. I'm not sure Marshall's been the same since Tim Cramsey left them as OC. Give me the Roadrunners.
Same.
Okay. Only the one difference. Now let's go to Boca. South Florida taking on a Syracuse team. Syracuse is favored. You know, I saw some potential in that quarterback. And as far as I know, he hasn't transferred or entered the portal yet. He's still playing. They've got a lot of athletes. Think about how they hung with Alabama earlier in the year. I got to go USF. I'll take the 3 points from Syracuse. I'm not a big believer in Syracuse.
Same here.
Wow. Did not see that one coming from you. All right, we'll go to Gasparilla. That's Georgia Tech in Central Florida. You know, Central Florida played well at the end of the year in order to get bowl eligible. They're 4.5-point favorites. I think they're going to beat Georgia Tech by 7. I'm definitely taking the Knights.
Give me the Knights as well.
Oh, man. Come on.
I think we've pretty much been locked up the entire year. That's a thing.
Birmingham Bowl. Okay? That has Troy, obviously the mid-major team, against Duke. But this is not the same Duke. Their coach went and changed jobs. He's gone to Texas A&M. Their quarterback has also entered the portal. Wouldn't be shocked if he's going to A&M. So Troy is a solid team. They won 11 games this year. Now they're giving away 7.5, but without a coach, without a quarterback, I'll take Troy over Duke.
Give me Troy as well. I think their quarterback is heading to Notre Dame.
Oh, he's going to Notre Dame?
Yeah, Riley Leonard's heading to Notre Dame.
Okay. Well, I knew he was going to a great place. Once your coach leaves, a lot of times you follow him. Armed Forces Bowl. That's James Madison against Air Force. They weren't going to let James Madison in. There was enough public pressure. Plus, they were short of teams that had 500 records. So they let JMU in. They're 3-point favorites against Air Force. I think they run away with this game. Give me JMU.
I want the Dukes as well.
Okay. We have one difference. Wow. And then finally, Utah and Northwestern in the Vegas Bowl. Northwestern making a bowl is a major story, considering the controversy and the coach having to, jettison from Northwestern after he'd built up the whole program. But then they were in total disarray. They were terrible last year or the year before. They had this horrible start to this year. And this guy that was the interim coach has been named head coach, and he's done one heck of a job to get him in a bowl. But Utah's the real deal. They're going to score. 6.5 points is all they're giving away. I'll take Utah in this one.
I want the Utes as well.
All right. We only disagree on one game, and that's Boise and UCLA. Wow. Incredible. Last time we were so close, we were 1-5. Hopefully that will not be the case.
I was thinking a little bit earlier when we were like 5-1. I'm not thinking about the 1-5.
There we go. All right. The weather can be a little chilly this time of year for golf, which is good for Sheldon, because Sheldon with Mark Spensdorf Realtors, he's better off if he's not able to play golf, because he's selling lots of homes and not losing golf balls in the lakes or the woods or somebody's backyard. He's been selling homes for a long time now. He knows the ins and outs, how to get you to the closing table to get the most for your home. He doesn't give you a lot of fluff. He tells you exactly like it is. Sheldon did, a highly successful strategic marketing program that can really mean the difference in what you make and when you make it. So if you or someone is thinking of selling, Sheldon says, talk to 2 or 3 real estate brokers. Just make sure he's one of them. Find out why people say when you want the job done, you call Sheldon. You can reach him at 483-0546 or memphisrelocate.com. Do it now or write it down for later. That's 483-0546 or memphisrelocate.com. Sheldon, Mark Spensdorf. He will sell your house. We'll take the quick break. Jonah Dillon Tigers football beat writer from the Commercial Appeal, is right around the corner.
Start your day with Sports 56 Mornings with Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy. Weekday mornings from 7 to 10, right here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Jenkins Floors and More in Hernando is growing. This family business started up 5 years ago with just one pallet, and now they have hundreds. Tim, the owner, gets calls from people everywhere and can sometimes save them up to 50% on wood flooring, carpet, tile, and vinyl. Jenkins Floors and More helps with renovations, home building, and installation. Jenkins Floors and More, number 6 East Commerce Street in Hernando. Also in Little Rock and coming soon to Tennessee. Call 662-469-9350 for more information. For over 8 decades, America's farmers have counted on the Little Red Tractor from Case IH, the Farmall, to help them make short work of their demanding chores. Well, Mid-South Ag can show you they aren't just for farms anymore. With horsepower ranging from 30 to 105, plus an army of attachments, they can tackle every chore on your to-do list, from hauling and mowing to loading and towing and then some. Stop by Mid-South Ag Equipment or call 662-890-3141 to find a Case IH Farmall that's right for you.
You ready to end the year with some money in your pocket? We got it covered at Gossett Mitsubishi's Mitsubishi Motors Year-End Sales Event. Get to the Pike for the award-winning 2023 Mitsubishi Outlander PHEV. 420 total range MPGE, $299 a month. Get ready for your road trip in the 2024 Mitsubishi Outlander Sport. Buy for $27,000 or just $399 a month. And cool has never been cooler than in a 2024 Mitsubishi Eclipse Cross. We got it at $30,700 or $499 a month. And no worries with Mitsubishi's 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain limited warranty. So get to Gossett Mitsubishi today at 1870 Covington Pike. Gift wrapping available. You want it, we Gossett. Shop online anytime at MemphisMitsubishi.com.
If you want it, we Gossett at Gossett Motor Cars.
PHEV PZ06203 MSRP 44,355 Sport RU 001136 MSRP 28,000 Eclipse RZO 12051 MSRP 31,700 includes all rebates and incentives PF 695 excludes tax title and license with approved credit. See dealer for complete details. Offer valid through end of the month. Dealer stock only.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is your buddy Johnny Radio. I'm here with Mark, the owner of Dyer's, out in Collierville's historic town square, where they've been cooking up them burgers since 1912, the old-fashioned way. Mark, what's going on in life? I see you got your 4 kids with you. What do they love about Dyer's?
Man, they love everything about Dyer's. They love all the great food that we serve, and they really like eating our good food and watching some of their favorite sports.
Braden, what do you like at Dyer's?
I like a bacon burger with fries, a milkshake, and with a Tigers game in the background.
Carter, who's your favorite football team?
The Carolina Panthers, and just with some macaroni with that sounds amazing.
My man Beckham, what's your favorite food over at Dyer's?
We like the double cheeseballs.
Kinley, what is your favorite dish over at Dyer's?
Daddy's cheeseburgers and the Dallas Cowboys game in the background.
Just remember, everybody, bring your family, bring your friends, bring your team out and eat at our place.
So head on over to Dyer's in Collierville's historic town square.
Hey, this is Brian Dacus inviting you to join me and Brett Norsworthy this Friday from 3 to 6 at Sissy's Log Cabin, 4542 Poplar. Sissy's brand new store is open just in time for Christmas, and you really should check it out. We'll be giving away a pair of Liberty Bowl tickets featuring the hometown Memphis Tigers, and we'll also have some Tiger basketball tickets for Saturday's game against Clemson. So come join us on your way home this Friday, 3 to 6 at Sissy's Log Cabin, 4542 Poplar with Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Now, back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM, presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
We're going to visit in a minute with a guy who's done a heck of a job covering the Tiger football team. Came earlier this year, Jonah Dillon has joined the staff at the Commercial Appeal. He's also doing some Grizz stuff. I think he covered the Jaw trial a little bit. We'll get into that in just a moment with him. He's brought to you in part by Grind City. Grind City Brewing. They've been taking care of beerness in Memphis for a long time. Remember this, not that old a brewery. It's been around a while now, but this was a dream at one point between a father and a son, and man, did they make reality happen with so many great products, like the number one seller, Poppy's Pills. That's just what the doctor ordered. It's really a Pilsner, their number one seller, which people absolutely clamor for. There's the God Hopper. That's the pale ale. If you're into lagers, the Amber Lager is Thaddeus, a fairly new product. And then if you like Blue Moonish stuff, the Belgian-style wheat ale, they got the Belga. You'll like that. They actually have one for the Tigers. It's the Tiger Tail. That's a craft malt liquor, unlike any other malt liquor you or your dad or your grandfather might have. Different product, really good, little extra alcohol in that. Got to be careful. Check it out. You can buy all these Grind City Brewing products in all the liquor stores around town, including the Spirit Shop. We'll tell you about that later. But you can also go downtown to that beautiful brewery with the beautiful expanse. I got a big backyard, you could say, with picnic tables and tents, a view of the skyline, and then you go inside that just gorgeous, gorgeous brewery, and you'll marvel at the place and the product. Grind City Brewing, taking care of beerness in Memphis. Jonah Dillon joins us now. So let's start with the John Morant trial. I think you were on that, right? Let me clarify that before we go any further.
Yeah, I was. I wasn't actually in the courtroom, but I was following it all 3 days. My colleague Lucas Fenton was there, kind of sending in updates, and we had a live updates file for all 3 days. So I've been through. We had almost. You look through all 3 days. We have almost 10,000 words of things that happened from the 3 days of that hearing. So I'm well versed in it.
So out of those 10,000 words, how much of this was just sheer insanity that we spent so much time and money on this trial?
Yeah, most of it, especially the first day when John Morant was testifying. There was a little bit less interest, obviously, when we were talking about the other witnesses after that. But there were so many moments, especially from that first day, looking back at what they were talking about, and it was just absurd. I mean, you can just isolate any quote or anything and then kind of zoom out and think, how did we really get here? It was just a bizarre couple days in court, and unfortunately, it's not over yet.
Yeah, I think my favorite part was when the attorney for Joshua Holloway, Rebecca Edelman, asked Ja to punch her. That was in there, right? And I don't know how Ja could react to that one.
Yeah, he didn't do it. It's an interesting one. I've never heard of that being asked in a courtroom before. There was that. There was his quote, "Well, I am a millionaire," which is a good one. So there's a lot in there. If you want to recap, go check it out on the commercial appeal. But it was a bizarre couple of days, and bizarre even more because obviously that was the first time we've really heard from him publicly since the suspension. We're about to hear from him in about an hour here at FedEx Forum.
Yeah.
But aside from that, that was kind of it. So it was kind of weird, just hearing quotes from John Morant because we haven't heard that in a long time.
If you can clarify for us, because I think a lot of people are confused as to what this trial is really all about. By the way, it's rested now, and the judge, Carol Chumney, who has presided over this, is going to make a decision. I think she's got a week and a half or so before she ultimately writes this thing up. Ja trying to get a declaration of defense immunity, and Holloway is trying, I guess, to make this a criminal trial where he gets a jury so he can make some money. If you will, sort of go over exactly what both sides want and what Chumney is going to make an ultimate decision on here.
Yeah, so not a criminal trial. This is all civil, and the criminal part of it, there was an investigation. Devontae Pack, who's John Morant's friend and is involved in this, was the only person who was charged criminally, but those charges were dropped. So at this point, this is a civil matter, and one of the things that made it even more confusing is what was going on this week was not the trial. It was a hearing to determine if John Morant can proceed with his self-defense case in this situation, which means that the ruling that we're going to get next week, which we expect on next Wednesday, is just going to determine if he can use that as a defense. So, which means that we're going to move forward one way or the other. If he can use that as a defense, then there could be an appeal, or it could continue with Devontae Pack as the defendant because he wasn't using self-defense as a defense for why he also punched Joshua Holloway.
Right. Well, he incriminated himself when he said that, right? Because I think that they actually changed the charge on him when he said in a deposition that he had hit Joshua, correct?
Yeah, but so the thing is, and you have to separate all of it because, like I said before, he He was criminally charged, but those charges were dropped, so we've kind of moved on from that aspect of it. And we're going to see how this plays out. The short version of it is there's going to be a ruling on Wednesday. Obviously, they could settle at any point and end all this. Assuming they don't settle, it's going to continue past Wednesday, one way or the other.
All right. What do you hope to hear from Ja this afternoon? You think he says much?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be interesting. There's obviously a lot of questions that we'd like to ask him. And there's a lot to go through. There's, what have you learned about yourself, and what have you, what's the personal growth that you've had in the past couple months? And then there's the other aspect of, watching your team play and watching your team struggle while you can't be out there, knowing how important Ja Morant is to this team and to the city. And obviously the Grizzlies have really struggled this year, and there have been injuries, and there's a lot of reasons why that's happened. But obviously his return can't come soon enough to the court. And so it'll be interesting to see, how much he takes accountability and what he kind of says when we ask him, what have you learned, and also, how have you improved both on and off the court.
Yeah, and then we can't wait for him to get on the court on the 19th to really see how long it takes for him to become a factor. The Rockets in town, they're not very good on the road, 1-8 this year. So if there's a game that is gettable to try to still keep the Grizzlies, I think they're 6.5 back now from making the play-in position, the last play-in position. The more wins you get without him, the easier it'll be when he comes back. How long do you think it'll take for him to be what we know of when we think of Ja Morant?
I don't think it'll take that long. I mean, the thing is, during the suspension, he's been practicing and traveling with the team. So he's basically been around the team with everything besides playing in the games and being in the arena during the games. Obviously, you'd expect a little bit of a ramp up into game shape, but he's had plenty of time to get into shape, to work on his body, and to be around the team. So it's not like there's going to be a chemistry problem. He's been practicing with them for a while now. And so I don't think it'll take that long. I think he'll be rested and he'll be ready to go when he steps on the court against New Orleans.
All right, let's turn our attention to Tiger football. We'll get into the bowl game in a little bit. Let's talk about that schedule that came out. By the way, in February, I guess we're going to get the full model for what it's going to look like from here on out, 25 and beyond. I don't know if they're going to assign rivalries. Who knows if Memphis will even be in that league in 25. But what's your take on next year's schedule? I looked at it. There's only 4 teams that are over 500 from a year ago that are on this year's schedule.
Yeah, and there's a pretty stark contrast between the home opponents and the away opponents.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a double-edged sword, because last season it was Memphis has to play all the good teams at home, but they have to play all the good teams. So that'll drive interest and fan interest. People like that. And then this year it's well, they're not sending us any of the good teams to play here, so no one's going to want to go to the games. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. It's also, you got to consider that, assuming all this stuff gets finalized, the Liberty Bowl, Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium is going to be in the midst of a renovation next year. And so maybe this is the right year for kind of a weaker home schedule. In terms of what's going to happen on the field, I mean, you've got to go, if you're the Tigers, you've got to go play at Tulane, at UTSA, which are, the 2 top returning teams in the conference. Obviously, SMU is leaving. Those are the 2 teams that finished above Memphis, aside from SMU this year. So those are going to be difficult games. And then obviously you've got that trip to Florida State early in the season, which will kind of be a free shot. No one's going to expect Memphis to go to Tallahassee and win that game. But when you look at the home versus road divide, it's pretty stark on the road next year.
Just survive that game at Tallahassee. You do have a game in Tampa, too, against a team that made the bowl this year. And when you go to Navy, and they ended up 5-7, they're going to learn this offense this guy's got now. And a year under their belt with that, I think that'll be tricky. You're right. The only team with a winning record last year that will play at Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium will be Troy. And they got a new coach.
Right, but just lost his coach, so Memphis will get to see him when they go to Tulane.
Yeah, that's right.
Which is a funny one. But, yeah, so, I mean, that it'll be interesting to see, because Troy, that was kind of one of those games when I saw that they had won the Sun Belt this year. I was thinking, that could be a tricky game for Memphis. They're obviously a good team. We'll see what happens with their new coach. But, yeah, the conference, I mean, most of those teams, I think all of the teams that in the conference that are going to play here in Memphis are newcomers to the conference from this season. So, we're expecting some improvement from some of them, but it's definitely those 4 games at least Memphis will be expected to win.
Yeah, I think you're going to be expected to win every game at home. The only one in question might be Troy. And honestly, I don't know enough about that team. I know they lost their coach, who, as you mentioned, has gone to New Orleans to take Willie Fritz's place at Tulane. I don't know about if they have returning quarterbacks or experienced players coming back, or what that thing will look like. Usually when a team has won 11 games, they've had, especially in the mid-major that they're in, that you've pretty much had a group that was together for a while.
Yeah, and then sometimes, obviously, in this day and age, that just means that you've got more players that are attracted to bigger programs, especially when a coach leaves. So, all this stuff is moving so quickly, but I think that's one team you got to look at what their roster looks like going to next season versus what it looked like at the end of this one.
What do you think we're going to see, how they're going to work this model that they're going to release in February with football going forward? Do you think they'll have some rivalry games that, like North Texas and Texas San Antonio, for instance? I don't know who Memphis's rival game would be now. They've lost Cincinnati. They've lost Houston. Those were rival games. Of course, we've seen that in the past. They lost Louisville was a rival game. So you never know. But how do you think this thing's going to work with the American?
Yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting one because obviously Memphis has made it very clear that they don't want to be in this conference. And it's almost just a given right now. I mean, I'm even thinking back to, I've been covering the city council debates over this stadium stuff, and we have city council members saying during public hearings, we're going to get out of this conference, and kind of like a rallying cry for funding the stadium renovation. And so with the AAC also, it's like they put out these scheduling plans, and then somebody leaves and they have to redo the whole schedule. That obviously just happened this year with Army replacing SMU. So I'm not sure that, we see all these things where these conferences put out long-term scheduling plans, and then a month later they have to rip the whole thing up. So I'm kind of interested to see how far in advance they do this. I don't know that this has been something that we talked about this whole season. I don't know that there's an obvious rival for Memphis.
Just UAB, like probably the battle for the bones. That might be it.
And honestly, a lot of Memphis fans are not interested in that rivalry.
Yeah, right.
I got some, when that game happened, and I wrote a story about the history of the trophy. There was some pretty significant pushback from Memphis fans saying, "Why are you even legitimizing this rivalry?" It's important to the UAB fans, and it's obviously. I think it's cool whenever you have a trophy, and that's obviously a really unique trophy involved in the game. But even some Memphis fans would push back on that. So it's a difficult one. It's like, who do you need to see Memphis play every year other than, you'd like to see Memphis play against the top teams that are available in the conference?
Since you brought up that meeting, and I'm sure you'll be there on the 19th, will they vote? How will this thing go?
Yeah, I think my expectation now is that there will be a vote. It will be more positive than it was last time. I think you go back and look at what happened last time. A lot of it was kind of displeasure from a lot of the city councilors about the way that the process played out. They kind of found out about this deal at the last minute, right before it was announced to them. And it's after it was announced publicly in some cases. So I think that they wanted to have a say. I think we're going to see on Tuesday, we'll see a different version of the resolution that we saw last time, which will have a couple different things related to maybe city council oversight or some way for the city to have more of a say in what goes on.
So do you think they'll have a seat on the board of that auxiliary that will oversee the stadium?
I'm not sure. I mean, I don't think that was really, if you look at what really happened, I'm not sure that was really the thing that set it all off. That was kind of just a mechanism for them to start that conversation. So I'm not sure that's going to be what it is. I think from my understanding and the conversations I've had this week, they are going to have an amendment to the resolution. It's going to have something in it that will make the city councilors feel better about the way the process is played out. But I would guess that it's not going to be significant enough that it would cause the deal to fall apart or the university to be unhappy with the way that things are playing out.
Or Fred Smith, for that matter.
Or Fred, right. And they said that if they don't give him ownership of the stadium, then the whole deal could fall apart. So I don't think that's what's going to happen. I think there will be something in there, and that they've spent a lot of time having those conversations behind closed doors so that next time when we're in public, we don't see what we saw a couple weeks ago.
Back to the league for 1 second. Why do you think Mike Oresco, who this is his baby, this league. He's separated from the other members of the Group of Five. He's made them the elite Group of Five conference. Why do you think he decided to step down at this moment?
I don't know. I mean, I think he's putting a lot of work in. He's had a difficult job, and it's becoming more and more difficult because of the way that teams are trying to leave and conference realignment. And Memphis is an example of that, right? Yeah. Memphis has made it clear, like we talked about, they don't want to be in this conference. And the AAC can only really afford to lose one or two more of those schools before. I think we're already having a conversation about what does the Mountain West look like, especially with Oregon State and Washington State being sort of aligned with the scheduling thing. Is it a possibility that one of those teams is going to get that playoff spot next year? We saw Liberty get the Group of Five New Year's Six spot this year over SMU. So the conference has declined. I don't know that you can necessarily blame him for that. But he's been doing it for a long time, and I think a lot of people are kind of thinking, yeah, he's putting his time and happy trails in retirement.
Tired of the battle, I would suspect that would be a part of it. All right, last thing. AutoZone Liberty Bowl on December the 29th. Looking forward to it myself. You think the Tigers are looking forward to it? Are they happy they're staying home?
I think so. I think there's probably a split. Some people like to go travel. They get that experience. Maybe you go somewhere with a little bit warmer weather. I think it would be fair to be thinking about that. At the same time, getting a chance to play at home, I think it'll be really cool for the guys who that's going to be their last game, to get to go out with one more game, in front of what should be a pretty good crowd. It'll be a little bit different because Memphis is going to technically be the away team, so it's not going to be like a home game. But I think that's a cool situation for some of those players. And yeah, I'm interested to see what the atmosphere is like. I know, obviously I wasn't here, but in 2017, people said that the atmosphere was pretty cool for Iowa State against Memphis, and we'll see how that goes this year.
I hope it sells that way. But by the way, I'm glad they're their away team. I'll tell you why. Because they're going to have uniforms that you can read the numbers. That's the best news that I've seen in a long, long time. Play this thing out for me. Now, Memphis has lost 3 offensive linemen, and Likes just announced he was going to go into the NFL draft, but he's going to play in the bowl game. But you lost 3 offensive linemen, you lost a pretty significant defensive back, and you lost your defensive coordinator. I don't know. I think Charles Clark's going to be the play caller on the defensive side of the ball. Give me your breakdown, because you're going to do a prediction sooner or later in the paper. I read you all the time. How do you see this game playing out?
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. I appreciate you reading, of course. I think it's tough, and I'm going to have to look at what Iowa State's roster situation is in terms of transfers and opt-outs and stuff like that. I haven't dug into that yet.
Me neither.
I think it's going to be difficult with what you just talked about, the offensive line. Trying to rebuild an offensive line in an offseason is one thing, and that's going to be a huge storyline, by the way, going into next season. Trying to do it for one game when you can't bring any players in is a whole other situation to try to deal with. I think there are a lot of concerns. I think, Memphis is going to give it a good shot. Iowa State is obviously a pretty good team. They had a good year in the Big 12. And it's like a lot of my other predictions. I think it's going to be a shootout. I think it'll be close at the end. And it'll just depend on, who can make more plays down the stretch. I probably lean Iowa State. I know they're pretty significant favorites. But I don't think it'll be a blowout by any means.
It was a heck of a game in 16. If Anthony Miller hadn't gotten hurt, I think the Tigers would have won that. So maybe they can even it up. Jonah, a delight talking with you. We'll do this again sometime soon. I can't wait to read your story on that council meeting coming up in a little bit. We thank you, and happy holidays to you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. You too.
That's beat writer Jonah Dillon from the Commercial Appeal, brought to you by the Eflin Insurance Team. Matt and his group, well, they read, Mr. Dillon. I can tell you that because they love the Tigers. In fact, they like Memphis basketball and football so much. In their phone number, if you want to call the Eflin Insurance Team, you call 386-GER for Tigers. That's 4777. So if you want to get protected, and it's a little different, they collaborate with you. They get to know you. Call 901-386-GER. You'll get protected with home, with life, with auto. And the way they do it is they sit down, they get to know you. They find out what is really important to you, what your budget is, and they find the perfect insurance. Same thing if you got a small to mid-sized business. Oh, yeah. They'll get to know you, your employees, your product, forecast you out a little bit. What's your budget? You got a small to mid-sized business, they find out perfect commercial insurance for you. Same number, 901-386-GER. Get protected the collaborative way. Get protected with the Eflin Insurance Team. Brian Dacus in studio. He comes your way in just a minute.
We are real sports talk. Sports 56 WHBQ. Available on your radio dial at 560 AM and 98.5 FM, as well as around the world online at sports56whbq.com. Take us with you everywhere by downloading the Sports 56 app. And at home, just say, Alexa, play Sports 56. Wherever you are, stay tuned in to Real Sports Talk. Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Get ready for big-time basketball at FedEx Forum this month. The Memphis Tigers host Power 5 opponents. Clemson, December 16th for a whiteout. Virginia on the 19th for a blueout. And Vanderbilt on the 23rd for a holiday game. FedEx Forum will be rocking as the Tigers look to continue their great start to the season. Tickets start at just $20 for these big-time basketball matchups. Purchase your tickets today at GoTigersGoTix.com.
Uncorn flavor, Corky's barbecue. We're cooking it up, down home way. Hickory smoke flavor like the good old days. A whole lot of good eating is waiting for you. Our Memphis barbecue tradition, you'll love what we do. Uncorn flavor, Corky's barbecue.
Hi, Jimmy Stovall here with Corky's Barbecue. I am honored that so many Memphians trust Corky's to serve our hickory smoked turkeys and spiral sliced honey glazed hams to their families for Thanksgiving and Christmas. This year, let us make it even easier with our holiday feast. Ham or turkey and gravy, and your choice of 2 of our southern sides. Cornbread dressing, sweet potato casserole, mac and cheese, or baked potato casserole. Reserve yours today at corkysbbq.com before we sell out.
Encore flavor, Corky's barbecue.
All 650 acquisition fee, Sportage R723 5498, MSRP 28940, Sorrento PG 424,710, MSRP 33,010, Telluride RG 462822, MSRP 38,705, includes all rebates and incentives, must finance through Hyundai, excludes tax title and license. See dealer for complete details. Offer valid through 1/2/2024 with approved credit dealer.com.
Hey, my man Jeff Allen, what's going on for the holidays over at Gossett Kia South Mount Moriah?
It's the season of giving back at Gossett Kia on Mount Moriah, and I've got your holiday presents right here.
Tell us about it, Jeff.
Award-winning SUV 2024 Kia Sportage LX, $299 a month, $34.99 due at signing. 2023 Kia Sorrento LX, perfect for your road trips, $329 a month. And the 2024 Kia Telluride LX, we got it at $459 a month, all 36 monthlies.
Well, you can't get much better than that, Jeff. And all Kias come with the 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain limited warranty.
So whether you live in Horn Lake, South Haven, Olive Branch, or Memphis, you'll be happy at Gossett Kia on Mount Moriah. And from all of us at Gossett Kia South on Mount Moriah, happy holidays.
Now, back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM, presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
Final segment of the week. That means our friend Brian Dacus from the Sports Time Show in the afternoons, 3 to 6 with Brett Norsworthy. He comes in sort of to end our week talking Tigers. So let me ask you right off the bat. I know you're anxious because this is going to be fun. You're nervous. This is a big game. Tigers win this game.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, you're looking at a big week because you got Virginia and then Vandy.
Sure.
But you win this game against a number 11 net, 13th ranked team in the country. That'd be back-to-back over top 25. You have to get in the top 25, right?
Yeah.
And maybe you start to talk, if you play well the rest of the way, a 5 seed instead of this 8-9 stuff that Memphis has seen the last couple of years.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a huge game. I mean, it sounds like from all accounts, it should be at least close to a sellout. It looks like tickets are going fast and they're selling well. But you're right. I mean, after what they did down at College Station, I don't know how you're not excited for this game tomorrow. And really, I heard you talking about it earlier in your show. If they win tomorrow, I mean, there's no doubt about it. They'll be in the top 25 on Monday. There's no way they can keep them out after beating 2 top 25 teams.
I don't know. There was both polls voted A&M higher than Memphis last week after Memphis beat them handily on their own home floor.
That's a good point. And even Coach Hardaway has kind of, he gets asked about it every week, and he's, he's not going to say too much about it, but he says, it makes you wonder. But, I think it'd be really hard to keep a team that has beaten a ranked team on the road and then a top 15 team at home out of the polls. And so it's a huge opportunity. This team seems to be playing well, and I saw somebody post on Twitter, I think David Jones is in the top 10 for Kim Pom All-American, and so or Player of the Year, whatever it is. And so he's been playing out of this world, and was AAC Player of the Week this week. So.
I got a good stat, if I can find it here really quick, on what he's done, because I think only one other person has ever done this before. Okay.
Really?
Yeah. This is pretty good. So he's the only guy in Division I that's averaging at least 20 points, 6.5 rebounds, and 2 steals per game. Do you know who the last player to do that was?
I do not.
Zion in 2018 and 19.
Wow.
I mean, that's the rarefied air
that is really rare.
that we're talking about. And David Jones is that's incredible. Look, I mean, if he's going to make a splash, if he can do what he did at A&M or against Arkansas on national TV tomorrow,
that'd be huge.
He's on his way to really he could be Conference Player of the Year.
Yeah.
So we're talking some major stuff in that regard. You mentioned ticket sales. I know Lower Bowl and the club seats; those are gone. You have any idea how many terrace seats have gone?
I don't. I mean, everybody that I've talked to says that they're going fast and that it's very limited on tickets available. And so, I feel like it's going to be a really good crowd tomorrow. I'm excited to see it because, this really, and Brett, my co-host in the afternoon, has been saying kind of all week, this feels like, the second home opener for the Tigers because it's been so long since they've played at home. And really those first 2 home games of the season, it went great crowds because of the opponent they were playing, but this is massive, and I think a lot of people are going to be excited. I'm really, really excited to get down there tomorrow.
Here's the odd thing about it: it's the first time Penny will coach.
That's true.
At home,
I didn't even think about that
this year.
Right,
because he, first of all, it's the second longest road trip in the history of the school, 30 days. The other one was 41 days, 14 games back in 1952. That's when they took trains everywhere. So, that's how long ago that is. Yeah. And the fact that he has not coached at home is amazing. And I'll be honest with you, I've never seen Penny this way because Penny's usually pretty laid back, lets the people promote. He's thinking games and recruiting. And he said to me when we shot his coach's show earlier this week, he said, "We need 18,000, Dave. We need 18,000." Then he went on Channel 5 and did a segment with Doc Holliday. He doesn't normally do that stuff. So he really wants that crowd.
Yeah, I mean, I think he realizes how big of an opportunity this is for his team. I mean, they're playing so well, and we know how much a crowd can impact a team, especially in college basketball, and especially the way FedEx Forum is set up. I mean, if you're on the court, I mean, when it gets loud, it is really, I mean, you can't even hear yourself think, and so it's huge to have a big crowd, and I think this is a huge opportunity, and he knows that.
Yeah. Just a tough team, though.
A very tough team.
People wonder, they're 9-0. Who have they played? Well, I'll tell you who they played. They played Boise. They beat Alabama. They scored 85 on Alabama.
That's impressive.
They average almost 79 points. So they can score and they defend. They hold you to 68. They beat Pitt. They beat South Carolina. They won that game at Pitt, by the way. They just beat TCU. Yeah. I mean, they start. This is what scares me. 2 grads, 2 seniors, and a junior. Now, one of those grads has been hurt. I don't know if he's going to play, so they'll put a sophomore in there. These guys, for the most part, there are a couple transfers, but for the most part, they've played together under Brunell, and they know each other. So this and they're experienced. They're not going to get rattled by a look. They won at Alabama. They won at Pitt. They're not going to get rattled by a crowd. So this is a tough test, man. This is hard.
No, it absolutely is, and I remember watching this team last year, but more recently, I remember they did a G League combine last year that Kendrick Davis was a part of, and there were a couple of guys that were in that, and I was paying attention to that, and there were 2 or 3 of these older guys from Clemson that participated in that, and they really stood out. And I know a lot of people that I follow were saying that they thought they could, try to make the jump and go maybe try to get drafted in the second round and get a contract somewhere. But they all decided to come back. And you're right, this is an experienced team. They're very disciplined. They're very tough. And they're going to give them a hard task. But, you look at this Memphis team and really, I think the most experienced team. And really, I remember last year we were all saying, this is Penny's best team. This is his. I think this team beats last year's team. And you got way more options. And I still think there are a couple guys that, maybe have been struggling. I know a lot of people have been pointing out Jaquan Walton and has kind of, putting him on the bench. He's coming off. He's, not what we saw the first 2 games, but, he bounces back, gets some of that confidence back, and this team can be really scary.
I'm glad you're bringing him up.
Yeah.
Because here's my take on that. I think the dude is sacrificing.
Yeah.
Now, I think he's a little off offensively. I'm not going to say he's not. But you know how many rebounds he had at A&M? 7.
Yeah.
I'll tell you.
Yeah.
7. He decided they played him at 5. I mean, he's sacrificing his game to help the team. He's really a 3, maybe a 2 when he was at Wichita State. They're playing him as a 5 because they're short a little on bodies, Jordan Brown.
That's right.
And so I give him a lot of credit. And Caleb Mills, Caleb Mills hasn't been the Caleb Mills at Houston yet.
No.
You got so many options here, and now you got Naquan Tomlin coming in, which Penny can't even refer to until he's signed.
That's right.
So don't ask him about him. I guess my last question on basketball to you is Jordan Brown. What do we know? Anything? And this is we know he's not sick. Let's just say that on the front end. He's not sick, but is he still with the team? Is he not with the team? He does not have many options if he's not with the team, but he's also quit the team at least because he's missed the last 2 games. So where does he stand? And Penny, the only thing Penny has been saying is, well, he's still sick.
Yeah, no, it's weird. I think it was last Friday when the kind of rumor started coming out that he wasn't going to be with the team anymore. And I talked to a couple people, and I heard a lot of, it sounds like he's done, he's whatever. And then, the week keeps going, and, everyone I seem to talk to is I don't really know. And, so it sounds like still up in the air. This really reminds me the way, because Penny is usually not very vague about things. He's usually pretty direct and to the point about things. This reminds me Amani when Amani went back to his hometown,
right?
Ypsilanti, when the team went up to Cincinnati and wasn't with the team, and Penny was very vague about it and all of that. This reminds me a lot of that. I would be shocked if Jordan Brown suits up again for the Tigers. I don't know when it's announced. We had Greg on yesterday, Greg Gaston. He said maybe Penny's waiting until he can finally talk about Naquan Tomlin and then uses that as kind of we have Naquan coming in, Jordan Brown's not with the team anymore. But I don't know.
Well, you can still play both. You've got that scholarship because that was held for DeAndre Williams. Here's I don't know.
Yeah.
And I love Greg, but I don't think he knows.
No, I don't think anybody knows. Right. I really don't.
So here's the thing that I think that Jordan Brown is mulling over with his father. Do we want to lose money? Because he's not going to make the 6 figures that he's making right now. I have no idea how much he's been paid up front, but I personally asked Penny if they paid him all his money, and I think they learned from the Imani Bates debacle that you do not pay everything up front. So he might have made some money already, but certainly not the majority of the money. Do you want to lose that? Because what are you going to make as a G League guy playing half the year, $20,000 maybe? If you get in,
that's the
so why what's the point? Finish the year, get your money. So that's why I'm not saying he's done.
Yeah, I mean, certainly in the G League, I would just be surprised if you went to the G League. A lot of those rosters they've already been playing. Their schedule is weird. I don't think they're actually in their regular season yet. But I think if he would go somewhere, it would have to be overseas. And now, I mean, their seasons are halfway over. I mean, it would just be. It's a weird situation, Dave. It really is.
I guess we will wait and we will see. Brian, thank you. Next week we'll talk a little AutoZone Liberty Bowl and we'll know where the Tigers stand because by the time time we talk next week, Memphis will have played Clemson and Virginia. What a week this is going to be at FedEx Forum. That'll do it for us. This portion of the show brought to you by the Spirit Shop. Yes, the weekend is here, and so many great games that you might want to watch on TV. The bowl season starts. Are you stocked up? You're probably out after Thanksgiving and everything else. Maybe Hanukkah. It's over now. So you got to replenish, and the place to do that is right at the corner of Poplar and St. Nick. 4848 Poplar to be exact. That's Eddie Connor's Spirit Shop. They've been around since the 60s, serving not just East Memphis. It's so perfectly located, it serves anybody. It's right there, right down from Clark Tower in the heart of East Memphis. It's that little log cabin. You've passed it by, but there's a lot in that little log cabin. I call Eddie a spatial engineer. He puts so much stuff in there. I'm talking valuable bourbons, up-and-coming tequilas, and bargains when it comes to vodka. All you've got to do is ask. He'll give you an education on the greatest wines. All the local beers are in there, all the accessories you could ask for at the Spirit Shop at Poplar and St. Nick. Have a great weekend, everybody. We will see you on Monday. Johnny Radio is next.